So guys, we one, I think we want to extend a level of appreciation to Minister Bagley for opening up Ego Barbershop, Ego Barber Lounge to us tonight for this conversation. You all see that there are some cameras here. I didn't expect we were going to have cameras, but I appreciate the cameras because I do think it's good for us to kind of document the things that we do, for historical records at the church, if you will, but also as opportunities for us to go back and reflect on them as we continue. We're going to do I think we probably should do a few introductions so that everybody's clear about kind of who's in the space. I'll start. I'm Gary Brown, the pastor of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, and I think we'll work back this way.
My name is Donahue Holloway. I'm the deacon at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church.
Robert P. Hunter, I'm a trustee.
I'm Nick Austin, his son.
I'm Vince Griffin. I go to the river. Ike Taylor, member of New Hope Baptist Church, Missionary Baptist Church, trustee.
Gregory Devon Hatcher, pastor of Grass Street Baptist Church.
Orlando Samples, Stewart, St. Joseph's A&E.
Good. This is my father, Ponce Brown, pastor emeritus at Shiloh Baptist Church in El Paso, Texas.
James Scott, trustee, New Hope Baptist Church, Markham. I think he said Markham, Brown out there.
It's all good.
Senior moment. Senior moment.
Roland Rigsby, New Hope Baptist Church, trustee.
Jacob Bagley, I'm the minister for youth and young adults at New Hope Missionary Baptist, and glad to have y'all here.
Right.
You, son. Come on.
My name is Joshua Brown. This son.
That's right, my son. That's it. Very good.
I'm Mark Eastman, assistant manager here at Ego Barber Lounge.
Very good.
Videographer, photographer extraordinaire.
Very good. And then looks like we got Reverend Cedric Horton coming in, one of our associate ministers. So, guys, we really wanted to get something to eat. We really wanted to do something different, something that will engage us in a different way around some conversation. Wanted to kind of get us also out, right, in a way, out from the church where we normally are, just because I think it's important for us to recognize that the church isn't just the four walls that where we meet on Sundays. The church can be anywhere that we are, to be quite honest. So, we do have a few questions that have been kind of prepared, but this is going to be a free-flowing conversation and an opportunity for other questions that folks might have. So I'm going to ask if Pastor Hatcher would actually start us off maybe with the first question.
Yes, sir. How y'all doing tonight?
All right.
So first question, gentlemen. What are 3 words that would represent your life priorities? What are 3 words that would represent your life priorities? Anybody? Well, I'll start. For me, it would be reliability, relationship, and consciousness. I know you probably would think, oh, well, the pastor gonna say God. And it's not that God is not priority. When I think about my divine relationship, those are 3 words that for me demonstrate that without having to say it. I value relationship with people, brother to brother, brother to sister, even romantic. I value relationship, and I feel like as people, we don't value relationship anymore. I said consciousness because you got to be present wherever you're at. You got to be present and know what's going on in this world. You got to be present in your Black history. Know where we've been, so we know where we're going. What I said our reliability as a Black man. I think that the most important trait that we can have is our word. Be reliable.
I would say my 3 words would probably be commitment, consistency, and dedication.
Good words.
Yep. So that's how I try to mold my life to be like a glass house. So when I get those 3 things in contact, I think I'm doing good. So and I try to share that and pass it along to every brother I can, because I tell them how important it is to be those 3 things, because without it, we don't even know if you're coming or going.
Yeah. Good word.
I have one is perseverance, trying to push toward a deeper relationship with people and Christ.
I say for me, my spirituality, because everything is spiritual. The way you spend money is spiritual. The way you exercise, meditate, read, your relationships, all that is spiritual. So spirituality, relationship, like you said as well. Relationship is one, and to your point, we do live in a time where everything is independent, self-made. I got it out the mud, and it's like we don't value relationship. Like it takes a village, and you admire people that are quote unquote self-made that ain't self-made. So
That's right.
spirituality, relationship, and perseverance, like just being resilient. You gotta be able to deal with the blows life hands you. So you gotta
Push forward.
sometimes you know gotta have a so what attitude and what's next. Things can either be building blocks or stumbling blocks, so you gotta have perseverance. So those will be my 3.
I think my 3 would be consciousness to that still small voice. To always be aware of what it's saying and to be obedient, to hear it the first time instead of second guessing. Maximizing every potential that God has given me, whether it's whether with my business, whether it's learning things, whether it's even exercising or whatever I got left in me, to just use it all, or everything I've learned in life, to just finally apply it all, the lessons. And finally, relational balance. So easy to get caught up in stuff, and that overlook this. So like, I got a list of stuff I do every day, which includes who to call. Versus I'll call somebody later, next thing I know I get an obituary in my hand. So because normally that still voice would tell you better call so-and-so, you better have lunch with so-and-so. Don't know why, but you get the answer once you do it. So balance in relationships, whether it's business, friends, family, spouse, whatever. Just give a little time.
So I think for me, I think my 3 words all start with the letter F. And number 1 is family. And you knew that? Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you know. So, I think there's nothing, to be quite honest, more important to me than family. And I consider family not just to be the folks that I'm connected to by blood, but the people that are connected to me in day-to-day life, right? Family extends to the folks who, I get privileged to pastor. It extends to the people that I work with, right? And I try to treat everybody like they are family, right? That doesn't mean necessarily that that we always are as loving, right? Because I think in family there's time for hard truth sometimes that have to be kind of extended. I think the second is faith. Faith that everything is always going to work itself out, regardless of what it is. And this is the third one is the one that I think I'm constantly working through, and that's living life fearless, right? Without fear in any way, right? Not fear because of kind of driving over some sort of cliff or anything like that. But, I think, often in life, you can be so caught up trying to make the absolute right decision. And sometimes those decisions aren't dictated by it being right as much as it is about what will happen based on whatever, right? You're trying to anticipate what life is going to bring. And I think when you do that, you do find yourself in a place of operating with this fear, right? And so, that's a real challenge, if I can be really honest, is how do you move without fear in everything, right? So.
Yeah, Pastor Brown, on your last point, fearless, that's something that I kind of try to live by, and something that I try to, I use different words, but I call it, to me, my thing is never losing your kid. Cause as kids fearless. Kids are do kids ain't got no fear.
Yeah.
So like before I started like my business and whatnot, I had this thing where it was like I was in my kid again, just dreaming and creating but like you said, like life got a way of bit by bit taking your kid away, taking your imagination away, taking your scaring you, putting that fear in you to where you. So that's that definitely resonates with me, that fearless thing, or not losing your kid or having that kidly nature.
Yep.
I mean, Pastor Brown made a good point too when you talked about the decisions not always being about right or wrong, but the impact. I think as men, all of us, even down to our youth, like when we think about our decisions as adults and how we talk about men being leaders and having to everything rests on our shoulders. Nobody ever talks to us about the level of anxiety that creates in a man.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us suffer from what they call neurotic anxiety, which is when you are worried so much about succeeding and not failing that, to your point about fearlessness, you unintentionally become afraid of failing because that goes against, so y'all have heard Pastor Brown talk about overcoming, and so if you fail at something, it's like, well, dang, well, hold on, am I not who I said I was? When it's just sometimes you have to fail or lose to win. Yeah. Because if you don't taste losing, you can't, as you said, overcome or persevere, as y'all talking about. So, these some great words.
And part of what you just said, we have that anxiety because of the way society views men. It's like a lot of times, so the older I get, the more I learn. So my parents divorced when I was 9. So just talking to my sister, my brother, I'm the youngest, so we talk about things, and sometimes it's like the way society views men, it's always the man's fault. And the more I learn, even in my own family, it's like a lot of times we should give our fathers or give men the grace we give our mothers, and sometimes give our mothers the criticism that we give our fathers.
Yeah.
So, but knowing that we'll be over scrutinized causes us to have that anxiety you talked about.
You know, when you talk about anxiety, a friend of mine and I would reflect on how our fathers dealt with stress but kept it in.
Right.
And certain actions or body motions that we found ourselves doing. Like my buddy said, you remember how his dad has his arms on, his elbows on his knees and just rubbing his head?
Yeah.
My father would take his glasses off and just kind of look up and start chewing on the end of his, everybody had, and then one day you look up and find yourself doing what your dad did or what your granddaddy did, because it's that you're starting to understand and appreciate as you get older.
Yeah.
What was going on.
Yep. Yeah, I think you make a really powerful point, right, in terms of that model behavior, right? I think that's the thing, that's one of the for me, has been kind of the biggest impression, right? The biggest impression on my life has been made on me by my father, right? And in some ways, I'm trying every day to be as good a father to my son as he was to me, right? And I recognize that may not necessarily be everybody's kind of context, right? But I do think that there's value, right? Whether you have your own son or you got other young brothers who look to you, right? That we are cognizant of like how we model what's supposed to be, right? Or what's supposed to happen, and how you should respond to pressure, how you got to respond to just kind of life's ebbs and flows. I think one of the things that has been a real kind of learning for me in the 42 years of life that I've been on this earth is that, everything ain't as perfect as people say it is, to be quite honest.
Say that.
Life ain't like you seeing it on TV, right? There's so much stuff that kind of goes into it. And so when you show up on a Sunday morning, right, and this is the one opportunity that you kind of have in a way to kind of interact and engage, I think there is a thought that people like that however you show up on Sunday is who you are. Right. But it's not, the judgment is not on what you're doing on Sunday morning, right? The judgment is really on what are you doing outside of Sunday mornings.
That's right.
And what kind of impression are you leaving on the folks who God has kind of put around you to impress upon their lives. So.
If I could jump in right there. Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. Again, I wanted to pick up with the 3 words, first and foremost, in conjunction with another thought, but 3 words that come to my mind, and I try to think sometimes with a level of standard that I don't often meet. And the first word is willing, or willingness. That's a big word for me because a lot can get done and a lot won't get done, in that sight. I'm willing to do a lot of things, but just because I'm willing don't mean I'm going to do it. Okay. Availability is another word that comes to mind, and that's a word that I tend to kind of push myself because oftentimes, as Pastor says, on Sunday morning you want to look a certain way or feel like you want to present in a certain way, but every day calls for some things in times when you least don't expect yourself to be called. And are you available? And if I'm available, I want to think that I am, even though I'm not always ready even to step up sometimes. The last one is sacrifice. And what I have learned in the few years that I've been around here is that this life that we live comes with a cost. Whether it is family, whether it is your daily routine, your whatever you're known to do in society or in life, whatever people think you are, it comes with a cost. And that could be good and bad. The because people are gonna think, you know, whatever they wanna think about you. You know, there's a saying that we say sometimes, whether you do it or don't, they're gonna talk about you.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know, and so, and it's not always gonna be good. When you do good, people gonna hate and all kinds of things. So sacrifice, it comes because you have to get to a point where those stresses in life that come at you every day, and as all us in here can attest to, being black men, we face it, whether you acknowledge it or not, the stresses of life. And we just piggyback in Mental Health Awareness Month, and you know, I think it's interesting that we're having this conversation after the end of that, because this is something that black men have not done historically. When I thought about this barbershop gathering, he was here, we're going to talk about whatever comes, you know, I thought about the barbershop. And when you come, whatever comes down the pipe, you might talk about who knows what. Who knows what in the barbershop. You're going to hear some colorful language and everything else that comes under the sun. And so I started thinking, okay, what are we going to talk about today? But in the big scheme of things, you know, we have not taken the opportunity to be transparent and open ourselves up, whether it is privately, you know, in a situation where you can talk to a professional, but because there, you know, traditionally we thought that if you need that kind of help, something wrong with you. You know, you can't handle life, then you ain't the man that you claim to be, or you know, life has a way of taking a toll. So, I mean, once again, it comes with a cost, sacrifice. How much do we care, really, about what people think about us? I do, and I don't. So,
but to your point, though, that brings up a good point, though. Why is it as men, why are we afraid to be vulnerable with one another? Because we all got something going on. We all busy with our jobs. We take a 9 to 5, we're frustrated about not getting the promotion that we want to get. It's because somebody else is making more money than us that we know that's not qualified. Then we take that home. Some of y'all are married. You know, some of us are divorced, but some of us got kids. We go from having to play, you know, not being respected on our jobs to not being respected at home. Wife looking at us sideways. Close your ears. Not getting none. Okay. I'll say that. Not getting none. Well, he all right.
He don't know. Not yet.
Not getting none.
He might know though.
So
He might know.
Right.
He might know. Be easy, son. Be easy.
Not getting none. So now we frustrated with that. We frustrated with not getting none from the wives. And then now, or our children don't respect us. Why is it that we always want to shoulder that responsibility by ourselves? I want to bring that to the floor, brothers.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I think first of all, very seldom black men experience unconditional love.
Ooh.
Oh, that's good.
Every relationship we got.
You was sitting on that.
I was waiting.
You was waiting on that.
Hey, bro, run it back one more time. You gotta hear that again.
Yep.
No.
Oh.
Hey, you get ready. We gotta hear that again.
As black men, I don't know when we've ever experienced unconditional love outside our mouths.
Wow.
Man, that's powerful.
Sometimes she'll side with your ex.
Yeah, she gonna side. You better bring that present, but really, I mean, because if on work, you know, your friends until there's competition or whatever. Your friends, well, it depends if you grow and they don't or whatever. They may have certain insecurities that you never knew, but it comes out some kind of way. Your relationships, your romantic, marital, whatever. Everything's good until stuff falls short. Or even if you become vulnerable, it may scare that person. Because I thought you were my rock and you crumbled.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you do have somebody that's sick in your life, your friends step back because they can't handle it. So you by yourself. So pretty much, you live this life alone as a black man.
Yeah.
Can I jump in? Also, I think you mentioned the word competition. I think that we have bought into this world
Yeah.
system in such a way that, you know, you got to look good.
Yeah, you
got
do.
Even on your worst day.
You gotta be on.
You got to present as if everything's good and I got this. And so there's also, and I go this far, even within the walls of the church, a lot of times we push
Yeah.
each other to excel to the point where you put some people behind and we don't pull each other. We don't say, come on, even if we, once again, in a position that people are seeing us, that we're being seen where the light is shining, we still want just our light to shine, and we're not, it's not being spread, it's not a ripple. It's not a ripple. Everybody doesn't get the effect. It's all about, I gotta stay in front. I gotta stay in front. I don't want to slack up in no way. I don't care what I feel like, what I look like. I mean, there's that spirit of competition, and it's a tricky thing. Ambition, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people elbowing for recognition. Well, you might be doing it selflessly, not even thinking about recognition. You're just doing your job. Things happen. Then all of a sudden, folks elbowing, you know, whatever. You know, when you talk about the spirit of having it all on your own, it was a funny thing happened. My son asked me one time. He said, "What would you tell a young black man like me in his 20s, one sentence?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, you can't trust white folks, and black folks will screw you."
I missed the second part.
I said, "You can't trust white folks, and black folks will screw you." So, so you better have your faith in God.
Okay.
But it's just you just have to be. You gotta have the spiritual foundation to be able to persevere. People disappoint, but you keep moving, and you also learn how to love along the way.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, and that vulnerability piece, for me, I see a lot of times we're hesitant to be vulnerable, whether it's amongst men or women, because a lot of times as men we might be vulnerable, and down the road, the moment that you were vulnerable or what you confided in another person is used against you later on.
Right. Come back.
So that makes you less susceptible to be like, I thought that I was being transparent and I thought this was healthy and acceptable, but
But I even go deeper than that, though. If y'all think about it, we were never really taught how to be vulnerable, because a lot of times being vulnerable meant you were looked at as being soft.
Right.
Just like we can't cry.
Right.
We can't cry. We can't be angry. We can't show any real emotion other than the emotion that we're supposed to have in our position, because if we are, we're belittled. We're belittled. Because I know growing up, I grew up in church, like most of us here. I never seen my grandfather shed one tear. I didn't see my father ever cry until his mother died. So is it because, and y'all make a good point, you make a real good point, but is it really because we never really saw that growing up, or what vulnerability, a good masculine vulnerability looks like?
So I think it's a mix, right? I think it is some of that, right? Some of what it is that you've been exposed to. But I think, all of our lives in some way are so heavily influenced by even those things that are outside of the people you're connected to. It's so influenced by what you see on television, right? For our generation, it was maybe TV, right? For older generations, may have been radio, right? for this younger generation, for what? Radio? Yeah. For younger generations, it's like social media, right? And whatever you see is what it is that you are striving to become, right? So you're trying to become this picture that for whatever reason, is created in your mind of what a man actually is, right? You rarely gonna see somebody on TV who look like us, who actually has a real life, right? You rarely gonna see that, right? I mean, for all of whatever people think today, right? Growing up, the picture of manhood in a way was like the Cosby Show for me, right? Like that's perfect, right? Ideal. This man got a wife, she's successful, right? They got these kids, they living in New York, right? He got his own little doctor's office down in the basement, what have you. And I remember as a child kind of growing up, and even as I've gotten older and been in relationships, people criticizing the family I grew up in and saying we the Cosby family, right? Now how disrespectful is it though, right? That just because that we had this nuclear family, my parents were able to stay married as long as they have and have had kids and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's not said as a positive, it's a negative. It's not spoken as a positive. It's not y'all got the Cosby family because people don't it's overlaying this kind of expectation, right? And so I'll be honest with you. I think there are times when I'm guilty of trying to kind of be who it is that I believe people want me to be, in a way, right? I can't let these folks in New Hope down, right? There have been moments where it's probably it's been a little tough, right? Where people probably been questioning, like, this dude done let us down or whatever. I'm a man too, right?
Say that again, bro.
And nobody knows anyone's story, to be quite honest. Nobody really knows anyone's story. And so when you start to kind of think about the fact that life is not perfect, that it is not this ideal, but you have this life to kind of make the best out of whatever situation that you're in, right? That's what it is in my mind that is what's really kind of pleasing to God. Like, what are you doing with what I gave you? Even if what I gave you, you lose, even if what I gave you, it doesn't kind of work out the way that you thought it was, what are you going to do now? What's going to be how you move? You're going to be consistent. You're going to be committed. You're going to be willing and available, right? You're going to persist. You're going to be perseverant, right? You're going to continue to kind of hold the ideals up because you know that at the end of the day, that's what is going to get you to the place of him saying, well done, right? And so I think it really it's challenging. It's extremely challenging. I don't think just to be a man, to be a black man.
There you go.
And to be a black man who's striving to be successful for something other than yourself.
And you talked about
People not gonna respect you when you're down, but when you get up, they're gonna respect you. And because you're up, they're trying to get something out of you.
Come on.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Say if you got no money and people start messing with you and bullying you, and then when you finally get a job or something, and you get paid a lot, $23 per hour or something.
Yeah.
And then
I want to be your friend,
they want to be your friend and get something out of you. And then when you start going back down, they're gonna
Leave you.
You're right, brother.
So think about that, right? This is 10 years old. And in 10 years of life, he has kind of figured out that life ain't easy and everybody ain't who they, what? That people are fake.
Yeah, go ahead.
Think about that. At 10 years old. I mean, it's to be honest, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I never wanted to raise my kids so they felt the harshness of life. I never wanted that.
You know, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Now, you know, in terms of, and we also been conditioned not to drop our guards.
That's right.
Because once you're vulnerable, somebody's on you.
Right.
And so we've got to learn how to be vigilant without being paranoid. You know?
It's true.
As you said, someone becomes vulnerable and open their heart. And, you know, once upon a time, especially among men, hey, look, I'm gonna tell you this, I don't hear this no more.
Right.
But I need to get this off of me.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was honored. Now,
Yeah.
it comes up later.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the biggest causes of homicide is broken trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because it's not too many people you're really going to open up to because you don't know who you can.
Right. That's right.
And to get that betrayal
That's
is
right.
something. And, you know, you're talking about, you know, the stable family situation. Yeah, it's the biggest fights you ever got growing up if you had a stable home.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you choose a spouse, when they say equally yoked, you better be, because
In all
you
things.
can marry somebody that's jealous of your stability
In all things.
and then sabotage everything because you think you did so, just because of that.
Yeah.
So you're going through
Yeah.
the same thing you went growing up with the person that you sharing your life with. I've
Yeah.
seen that so many times.
That's deep.
Yeah.
And when
That's
you
business.
ask the question about vulnerability, like you think about two of the places that men are the most open, right? It's neither one of them are church. It's the barber shop and the bar.
That's right.
Right. And it's like so the question is why? Well, because at the barber shop, right, we can talk, be open, but we're also getting something while we're here. Not just conversation, but somebody's providing a service. I'm going to feel different when I get out of this chair because I look different, right? You think about at the bar, not encouraged anybody to get drunk,
Right.
but we all grown, most of us. So it's like at that bar, you're going to get up feeling different. You might have went in there with the pressures of life and you had you a good shot of Ciroc. Now you feel a little different now. It's not a great way of going about it, but it causes you to open up. Go to the biblical side. Like, look at Samson and Delilah, right? She had a bad motive, but a good method. And she made that man open up, right? But I personally don't believe that she didn't have love for him. I think that she had more of a love for money. And she ended up betraying him for that. The same thing happened to Judas and Jesus. Jesus said, come on, do what you can to do, dear friend. And he betrayed him with a kiss. But they were friends. And I think sometimes in a relationship, because of certain broken relationships that will cause us not to want to open up because of that, but then we've been indoctrinated as children to not open up, or when you fall and get hurt, don't acknowledge that hurt. Suck it up. Be tough. Right. So that's right to us. And it's like we don't have the luxury of being able to say, well, I grew up like this and I've learned to be this way. Nobody wants to hear a man's story. They don't. They say that they do. Like we expected to be what? Emotionally intelligent. But we were not educated to do so. But they never let us say that, because if we say it, then, oh, that's just an excuse. But we are expected to be what? Sensitive to our wife, sensitive to our girlfriend. But it does not work. So again, at the barber shop and the bar, we got something in return. Iron sharpened iron. So if I'm in a romantic relationship with a woman or a marriage or what have you, if I don't feel I'm getting anything back, if there's no mutual in this vulnerability, or I'm gonna use the word intimacy, right? Because intimacy is about trust. At the end of the day, a lot of us were taught that the only avenue to intimacy is sex. So that's why a lot of men with women use sex to be intimate, because they were never taught a different way. But even brother to brother, the trust factor in terms of intimacy, all the time is not there, because we have not given this to each other, but yet we have the same experience, because we're both human beings, no matter what, whether you're the pastor, the pew sitter, the construction worker, or whoever. Same experience. But we've built this wall up because, to someone else's point earlier, we have to, so that we think we do.
Yeah, and I got kind of not necessarily comments, but two questions based off the vulnerability piece and the statement that Josh made. So a couple of days ago, me and my wife was literally talking about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So I've been through a lot over the past, probably since the pandemic. You know, just family, just a lot of stuff. So my sister's in therapy, and my wife was saying basically, she was like, I think you should go to therapy, woo. So she was like, you're not emotionally intelligent. Like, you don't show your emotions, this, that, and the third. And
But you want us to be tough.
Talk to
They
him.
say that, but they
Talk
want
to
us
him,
to be
sir.
tough.
Talk to him.
Right. So it
Yeah,
happened.
tell him
How
what
you,
to do.
how do you expect us to do both things? Pick one.
Come on, sir.
Josh is gonna be a preacher. So
That's real. That's real right
He
there.
gonna be everybody's spokesperson.
Okay, right. He can say it. We can't.
exactly.
I'll give you my address.
For about another 15 years to get it back. So it and just and I am a lot of things I might not express, because like I was a finance major, so I'm extremely transactional in my thinking. So what is the cost? What is the benefit of me being vulnerable? So that's a question you ain't gotta answer, or feedback. I don't. It's not a question. I'm just asking a question. The second thing Josh pointed out about your friends only want certain things from you. Obviously that's wrong. But for me, friendship is big for me, and I feel that if I'm a friend, I feel like I'm valuable, I'm useful, I should be used.
Yeah.
Like, we're a village.
Right.
I feel like if you have something, if you got tomatoes, I got onions, I should be able to get some of your, if we're friends, I should get some of your tomatoes, I should give you some of my onions.
Right.
So I feel like if I'm useful, if I'm useful as your friend, you should use, like I have a barbershop, we're here.
But when
I
they
should,
get it from you, they're not.
no, and your point, I definitely understand. That's wrong. What you're saying, they're misusing you. As a friend, I don't mind being used. Just don't misuse me.
Right.
So those are two, and and Josh, to your point, that's a thin line.
It is.
Well, how do you? So those are my two questions. Like, and you ain't even. I don't have the answer. I'm just throwing it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
So,
go ahead, Pat.
I guess for me, I think in terms of the emotional intelligence piece, right? I think it does take a very special person to be very honest about where you are emotionally.
Yeah.
Right? It is a skill to really truly embrace the fact that you teetering on the brink, or you running. I like to say you running kind of hot, son. Right? Like for me, I know that when I'm running kind of hot, the easiest thing, I'm a flip. Right? I ain't saying I'm a flip like go crazy, be throwing stuff around, nothing like that. But I might be a little bit sharp in what I say.
Right.
And you know that you're being sharp in what you say because of how people react to it. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it's taken time to come to that, right? And it's only come because of life circumstances. Yeah. So to your point on, the tough times since COVID, right? There may be some level of truth to behaviors and how it is that you might be responding, even if you don't necessarily see it. Right. I think the benefit and the value that you have, right, is you have someone who loves you, telling you this is what I see. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that works in all cases, right? But if you have someone who is the closest to you, and generally speaking, for a man, that wife is that closest to you, they know something. Did they see something? Because they see you from the laying down at night to getting up in the morning, right? And they recognize when things have changed, when things have shifted, right? And so I would say, if she said that, you might consider saying, maybe I will go have a conversation with someone, or maybe I will take some time to kind of process some things, right? Process some things out, however it is that you kind of choose to do that. To the point about the being used and misused or what have you, I agree, right? That friendships should be based, should feel like, my friends should be willing to call me, to ask me for support or assistance or what have you. The true measure, though, of friendship is if it's only one person calling, right? And then if you call them, they don't answer. They not accepting of the request. They're not supportive, right? You can't be my friend if you only going to support me when it's convenient for you. It ain't gonna take me but a couple times to call you and to recognize that I'm being kind of pushed to the side before I'm not your friend. Which is why I don't really have a lot of friends, in a way. And maybe that's me, right? But I don't really get down with a lot of people like that, because I don't necessarily feel like I need that many people to really know me like that. So
It's very rare that you find somebody who will actually support you in everything you do.
that's true. In everything you do, right? And that's
Like if you move into somewhere, they're just like, okay, congratulations.
They come over these boxes.
yeah.
But to piggyback on what you said, Pastor, one thing I learned, I've been divorced going on 3 years now, and I've learned a lot about relationships and about myself. One thing I learned is we try to hold people to our expectations of what we think they should be doing for us, or how they should conduct themselves. And a lot of times, that's when we mess up in our relationships. That's when we mess up in our friendships. We thinking that they're supposed to be riding down with us, but real talk, they may not just have it in them like we have it in us. They may not be able to show the love or think a lot of times the way we think. We may be thinking one way, well, you should be handling me this way, but this person that you are friends with may not have it in them to handle you that way. It's just like, for instance, if I give you, Reverend, if I give you $200, right? You ask me, James, I got a little bit of a snag. I gave you we cool, we talk on the phone or whatever. But you ask me, can I borrow it, and I give it to you, $200. Next week you in here with some J13s, and for those that don't know, just a pair of Jordans. So you got just $200 to me. Yeah.
Right. Just so happen to cost
It just so happens to cost $200.
Just so happens.
Or more. Right. And those will be more.
I got the tax.
Right. So, but the thing about it is so I see you with that. Now, a lot of us, for example, we gonna feel some kind of way, right? We naturally gonna be like, well, that NIGGA, I ain't never giving them no money again, and then we lose the relationship. No, what it is just they failed my expectation, because I'm thinking that you going to take that money to go pay a bill. You taking that money to go because Duke Energy done called you, and you want a payment arrangements the last day, not because you out here trying to stunt, you trying to floss.
Yeah.
So now instead of me feeling some kind of way and losing the relationship I have with you, sure, me and you gonna stay friends. But now I gotta shift my expectations of you. You know you ain't getting no more money out of me. But now I know how to treat you now. So therefore I don't have to lose a relationship. And relationships don't last forever. You know, we gotta get understanding. Some friendships, some relationships are just not meant to last forever. But I can still keep you, and I can still keep you in my life. I just gotta put you over here.
Right.
Now I understand that we ain't what I thought we was. So I can still love you in Jesus' name. I can still cool. We can still chop it up when we see each other, what have you. But I just know that part is just not where it's gonna be.
So you saying you don't trust them the same way?
It's just a different kind of trust.
Okay.
I just know I'm never gonna let you borrow money again, and that you took my friendship, for granted. So now I'm at a place where I'm never gonna allow you to do that again. So I'm just gonna keep you over here. Because the Bible said we still gotta walk in love.
That's true.
I'm gonna walk in love, but you gonna give me my money
Run
today.
me my money.
Run me all that.
First of all, I'm cool. If I lend it to you, if you my boy and you say you gonna pay me back, I'm gonna believe that you gonna pay me back. But if you don't, I'll be pissed off, but I'll get over it. But I'm not gonna leave a 20-year friendship over $200. I just know I just gotta handle you differently. That's just me. I just learned that I just like that rather being bitter and walking around with unforgiveness in my heart.
So y'all not gonna be friends though?
Exactly.
Not like you
Hey,
want.
That's what I was about to say. So if you, because in that scenario, you looking at me crazy because I ain't giving you your bread back. But in reality, if it only took $200 to get rid of me, then that's money well spent to get a burden out of your life because I misused you.
Wow. Yeah.
But is it the not paying you back, or is it the shoes you saw?
That's a great question. I think for me,
It could have been a gift.
it could have been. I mean, but not if you told me what you were doing with it. You told me you needed it because you got caught in a jam with a bill, and you needed something to just cover me. You gonna pay me back on Friday when you get paid.
What if the bill was the shoes?
Shoes are billed out.
I mean, what they got? A firm and a firm. You can buy anything on a firm. That joint become a bill, don't
He
it?
brought up a good point that what if those was a gift from his wife? He still paid the bill,
Yeah, he paid
but
the
the
bill,
optics
but he
look
got a
crazy.
gift.
The optics look crazy. So what if I don't get the money back then?
So that's what I said. That's what I was asking.
That's a different
Which
scenario.
one brought you off?
Shoes are not giving
It sounded like you wanted him to take them shoes and sell them to somebody so you can get your money back. Sound like you wanted to take them shoes to Swish so they can give you the money and you can give it back.
Is it the shoe? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Is it the shoes that threw you off, but you're not getting your money back?
Right.
But if I see it, if I give you to you, I give you the shoe, I give you the money on Monday. You show up with the shoes too Wednesday, and you ain't gonna pay me back on Friday.
You know.
It's still so then after Friday, and I ain't heard from you. Okay, I'll give you a couple more days. Like, here we go.
It's the money, not
Friday
the shoes.
gone. Friday gone. Then we see each other on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Pastor right now you got that whole little tension.
That's
You know,
right.
it ain't no yo, what up, bro? What's good with you? Yo, it's more like
None of that.
bro, what's good, man? So are we gonna talk about the elephant? And so now he don't bring up the elephant in the room.
Right.
Now what? Now you feel like
He
you've
could have
been
listened to
handled.
it. I ain't forgot about you. He could have listened to that.
But if I don't get that from you,
Yeah, I got you.
now what?
Yeah.
Now how's that supposed to make me feel?
That's a different energy.
There you go. That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
not talking to him no more.
Yeah. It's over.
Don't text me, don't do nothing.
Right.
So this is how you find out people around you. That's exactly how you find out what you're dealing with. So I do it a lot, and I don't go as deep as $200. You might need $10 from me right now, and I'm gonna ask you, okay, so when we get that back? Right. I'm gonna ask you straight up, because you're gonna come to me again. I'm gonna give you that $10, and on Friday when you say you're gonna pay me back, I'm looking for that $10, right? The moment you act like what? See, I already put you down in a different category. I'm not gonna not like you no more.
There you go.
But guess what? I don't have to feel bad when you come to me next week and say, "Can I get 20?" I'm still waiting on that 10, bro. That's it. You know, but see now you have taken that person that can
There you
become
go.
a hindrance to you and take things from your family. Because I might not have that $10 to really give you, but I'm gonna give it to you because you need it.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you just took $10 out of my family's pocket.
Right.
And then when he comes tell me, Daddy, can I get $10 worth of gas, man? I'm like, man. Yeah, as soon as he give it back to me.
Right.
Get him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, yes, that's a whole different conversation. But see, I like stuff like that because then I already know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
I don't mind getting taken advantage of. But shame on me if you do it twice.
That's what I'm talking about right there. I just won't let you do it to me again.
Yeah, shame on me
And so I'm gonna never keep you here
Yeah.
until you pay that money back. I ain't gotta hate you. I ain't gotta say, yo, we ain't bros no more, we ain't friends no more. No, we good.
We good.
But I just know now where my friendship, how you value me as your friend. So now I'll put you right here.
That's one conversation I know we're not gonna have again.
There it is.
We can talk basketball, football, what's going on this weekend, you know, whatever.
I would go to the game if I had that $10.
Yeah. It's true. But I tell people that people struggle with that in relationships a lot, and they talk to me and say, "Man, what should I do?" I said, look, the old saying is, you never give anything you don't want to lose.
Yeah, that's it.
You can't afford to lose. So, first of all, you always give them that advice right there. But you tell them, say, look, don't judge a man on what he, you know, if you give it to him, he can't give it back to you. And if it's a good, legit reason, he gonna let you know.
That's right.
So you always gotta keep it open, but you gotta keep it straight. What I said about being consistent.
Yeah.
I'm very consistent with, when I see you, we're gonna have that conversation first.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna come to me and talk to me about everything else, trying to get my mind off of it. Because I see you, I see $10. I can't get, I can't get past that $10. Yeah, when I get $10 back,
It's crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about what's gonna happen tonight now.
All right, guys. So let's go one last question, right? One last question, because I know we rolling, right? But we do need to bring it down, right? Close it out in a minute. So here's a question, right? What influences you outside of the Bible, right? Because we gonna operate under the assumption that everybody here is reading the Bible some kind of way, right? And I don't really want y'all to be kind of ultra Christianizing yourself right now, right? Outside of the Bible, what is it that's influencing your behavior, your decision making? Like what person, what book, what podcast, what is it that's influencing who it is that you are on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I like to say this, because it's something that I've been watching for a while. Because of where I'm at right now, today, I owe it to this man right here. Because when I joined the church, he wasn't there. But for some reason, I was driven to that church. And a year later, he became the pastor of the church. And 6 months after he became pastor, because the way this man preaches, I said, I want to hear how he teaches. So I started going to Bible study. And in going to Bible study, I heard him talk about his life. He talked about his father a lot. He never met the man. But he talked about him. He talked about how things were when he was growing up. Josh wasn't even born yet. I watched things keep going now. This brother can teach and preach. And so for me, I always thank you. I tell y'all all the time, thank y'all for coming to be with me while I get my teaching and get my spanking. Because he teaches it just like it needs to be taught. So it's the reason he was brought to New Hope. And I think on the reason he came to New Hope. But if you listen to his stories, his backstory, and now that his father is here, his story is still the same. He still tells the story in front of his parents. We already knew how the story was, but see, that's about being consistent. See, he could have been. I've seen people tell a story a different kind of way when they're in front of him. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
His story never changed.
Yeah.
Which means he was what? Consistent. He never had to go back and figure out, what did I say? I started doing that in my personal life because I've seen how powerful it was. I'm going to tell you all something that's real powerful. Josh is doing the exact same thing that he did when he was little, watching his father. For all of you that's here that goes to New Hope, I want you to watch what that young man do every Sunday. He's doing stuff that, he respects his father so much. And Josh has said it openly. He said, I want to be just like my daddy. You know how powerful that is? In this day and time, to have a father that you want to be just like. This guy right here, that's all he talked about when he was little. I want to be just like my dad. There's some things I don't want you to be like me in, right? But he wanted to be where I was at, working the whole 9 yards. Guess where he's at? We're working in the same company right now. He's doing the exact same thing I was doing.
Amen.
I wasn't happy when he got there, but he's doing it. And he's doing it, he's taking it to his level. He's seen what I've done with the business, but he wants to take it to the level that people will know him, not me. Y'all see, when they look at him like, y'all say, who is this? Back said, what relationship with you to that guy right there?
Yeah.
You know, it happens to him on a weekly basis. Somebody walk up to him and say, you know Donahue? I said, yeah, that's my daddy. I said, I knew it. But it's his demeanor. Him and I are so close that you already know what to expect out of him. People say, you've done a good job. I say, it's not easy raising a child. You know, it wasn't easy to get him to be the man that he is. I'm watching Josh. Josh is making a point to be like his daddy. Gary made a point to be like his dad. He respected his dad for what he did, and that's the reason he's as good as he is right now. I mean, that man's something.
Well, I appreciate that. That's you recorded that, so we can. Oh, it just died. Dang. We can take that. Some boots. So I appreciate that, but certainly, I think all of us are striving to be better today than we were yesterday, right? And so, certainly I appreciate, your words and you're saying that, and I can't take credit for that, right? In terms of, your growth. I know that God kind of operates through us in different ways. And, for whatever reason, who I am has resonated with you. And certainly there are a number of people who do that. And so that, I think anyone should hope that they can have that amount of kind of impact on somebody else. I think, for me, outside of, certainly scripture and all of that, which, is a requirement to be able to stand and to teach and preach to God's people and to kind of shape your own self. And from my perspective, y'all don't know, on Sunday evenings when I'm driving back to Elizabeth City after I drop the kids off, I've got about 3 hours to figure out what to do with my time, right? And, during the pandemic, I actually, when we started kind of coming back to church and recording and all that, I would listen to what everybody else was doing, right? I would listen to other pastors and hear how what they were saying to their congregations that were away as well. After about 6 months or so, and generally within about that first hour, by the time I get to Nashville, I'm done with that. I don't want to hear that no more. Right. I'm good. I got mine out, right? I heard somebody else get theirs out, so now let me listen to something else. And so I like to listen to this podcast. It's called The Pivot. I started with I Am Athlete, right, which was Ocho Cinco and all of them boys. Then they all fell out or whatever, and then The Pivot started. I think The Pivot is better than I Am Athlete, and I like it, right? It's athletes, like I'm a sports guy, so I like listening to Fred Taylor, Channing Crowder got some crazy stuff he be saying on there, but it's funny, right? I don't really like Ryan Clark like that. I think he's a little too serious, but I do think that there's value in the conversation, right? And it's helpful, right? Because it helps to kind of humanize some things. And it always reminds me, these folks, Fred Taylor, when he was playing ball, I thought he was one of the baddest boys out there. I mean, I thought he was something. Channing Crowder, I don't ever remember seeing him play, or what have you. But, they say he played or whatever. We know Ryan Clark played some ball. But the folks that they end up having on the show are these kind of folks that we've all kind of come to know. But everybody comes on with not the same issue, but they all talking about how to pivot. How do you go from whatever was here to here? Like, how did you take what was bad and turn it into good? And to be quite honest, I feel like that's kind of my life in a way, right? I mean, certainly there's been a lot of good, but there's been some bad too, right? And so how do you pivot to ensure that, you maintain who you are and you continue kind of on the journey? So that's something I listen to. I just like it. So.
For me, I could say the books I read, definitely my dad, I got kind of the same testimony as you do with Pastor Brown with your dad. I'm gonna stay in the same vein with a podcast. I definitely like to pivot, but here recently I've been listening to a lot of R&B Money podcasts with singer Tank and Jay Valentine.
Yeah.
So even for me, I like to get down to, and I'm a former athlete, so I definitely like to pivot. So I'm a music fan, and one thing about me with music, I was in the chorus, I played the trumpet. I feel like everything I ever did, I was good at natural, like with sports or school. The trumpet was one thing that I just couldn't get. I was like a Winston Marsalis fan, and I picked up the trumpet, and it was just the one thing, but I always loved music. So watching them get into the nuts and bolts of the music business the same way I get into the nuts and bolts with business, barbering, watching videos on different techniques to cut hair, or the science of preaching, I feel like I glean a lot out of what they do and apply to what I do in different areas. And just hearing everybody's story of people, they just didn't pick somebody and say, all right, you about to be a star. It was, I just love hearing those stories. And even for Tank, he was out in the 90s doing background vocal work and listening to producers and then doesn't get his break till 2001. So man, that inspires me. Just keep plugging, keep going.
I like both of those podcasts y'all mentioned as well, and a good book that I love is that book by Tony Evans, Kingdom Man. Yeah, it's a very good book. I've read it a couple times, but to the point about I have a podcast, and the one reason I have one is because I like to bring other people on that have something to say, that we can, again, sharpen each other. I think I started in 2016, before they was calling it podcast.
Yeah.
And then I stopped for a year, and then I picked back up with a different show. And And in doing that, especially in the pandemic, it has given me another avenue to where you don't have to make something religious, but it comes across anyway because of who you are, which ends up in turn, it brings people even into the church sometimes. Not necessarily my church, but just the church. And I find that in doing that, it helps me because I'm sure that Pastor Brian can relate, like being a pastor and especially being bivocational, it's not easy for a number of reasons. Your time, number one, but then you have to be a lot of things to a lot of different people. And like earlier when I talked about like that whole piece about not wanting to fail, for me, that's pressure because I don't want to fail in anything. But I have heard people's story of how they may have had a moment but gotten back up from it. And that encourages me when I can hear other people's story, especially other men's story. And then, watching, other podcasts as well. And even I've learned now to collaborate with other podcasts. We can, do things together. Matter of fact, tomorrow I've got to do one about men and healing with another group. But for me, again, that's why I value relationship with people so much, is because I think we can be such assets to one another, but sometimes we stop making the main thing the main thing.
I think for me, I love the pivot, and I also love David Goggins. I know he can go places at times, but that 40% rule always stood by me, where when you think you've got nothing left, totally exhausted, you find you only use 40% of what you got left. There's 60% left in you that you can't see, and how to push through that, through that wall. Because I think he takes away the excuses or the things that your mind will tell you to give up, or you're tired or whatever, to keep it going. Definitely just listen to a lot of audio books and things, and it could even just be adventures, things, whether it's Jason Bourne and stuff like that, where in the midst of all of this, even though he may not acknowledge his God, you see God in the whole picture of things falling in place, having that feeling, whatever the God that's there, even though it wasn't acknowledged, that keeps you, it's just different things. It just kind of brings that balance there, and of course R&D and money, love that. So I just like something I can just learn from. Yeah, just different things.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, this has been a really good night. I think an opportunity to kind of have some honest conversation around a couple really good topics. And, honestly, I hope it's not kind of the last conversation, to be quite honest. Certainly we did this as a part of our Men's Month activities at the church. But, I think there's a necessary place within what it is that we do as men who are striving to just be better every day, to be able to connect in some real honest ways. So, I want to say, certainly we certainly appreciate everyone's attendance tonight. The venue is good. I always liked Ego Barber Lounge. This is kind of my barbershop. I like the barbershop. The barbers here pretty good. The conversation's pretty wholesome. You know what I mean? Generally, it's pretty good. And, and certainly, having people who are close to me in the space has been really impactful. And certainly for everyone who is here, who isn't necessarily with us on Sundays at New Hope, your contributions tonight are very much appreciated. And so we appreciate your being a part, because we all a part of the family. I wish that we had Brother Cotton, who's over here, to say something on this video. You got something to say, Brother Cotton?
No, I just like to say I enjoyed it, and I hope we have it again.
Very good.
And
Good deal. Ready to go home. Ready to go home, Donnie. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200, because that might be the $200 you owe James. Yeah. All right, but there's plenty of food I think still left. Take some food with you. Take some home, and for brothers at New Hope, Sunday morning 10:30, we're on the cool down Sundays now. So dress down, dress comfortable. It's summertime. Look at him. He over here breathing a sigh of relief. Got that contract, didn't you? Yeah. Got that contract. Yeah. Praise God. And then next, that's right. And then next Friday night, we'll be at the Durham Bulls baseball game together, and then celebrate Men's Day together on the 18th. Right. So we'll see everybody Sunday morning, 10:30, on time, dressed down. Right. Minister Bagley is actually preaching on Sunday, and I need everybody in the house to support him. It'll be his first time standing as the youth and young adult minister at New Hope on Sunday. You all have heard him before. In those times, he was a guest. Now he's a part of the family. And so you got to support family, right? Very good. Good deal. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you and praise you for this time that we have spent together. We thank you for every man who is within these walls. We pray not just for us, but for all of those who wanted to be here but couldn't be here, and those who still may desire some level of connection. We pray, Lord, your blessings upon us. We thank you for the edification that we all experience in hearing the perspectives of each other. We thank you, Lord, for the sanctity of this moment and the safety that was created within this space. We pray, oh God, for trust to continue to evolve, and for strength for the days and moments and times to come. Bless each and every individual under the sound of my voice. Give us safe passage on our way home, and bring us back again so that we might fellowship together in your name. And all these things we pray. Amen. Amen.